What's up YouTube, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and today we're going to be doing a SuperSaf style camera comparison between the OnePlus 5 and the iPhone 7 Plus. So we're currently in Paris, which is quite nice, and we've got the Eiffel Tower here in the back. And in the usual style, we'll be doing both the front and rear facing camera tests and our images as well as video too. Do also look out for the audio icon in the corner of the screen, and that will indicate to you which device the audio is coming from. I'll be switching between these two to give you guys a better idea of the differences in audio as well. So we are currently outdoors, there's lots of sunlight, we're using the front facing cameras on both devices. We're going to be switching to the rear facing cameras, and then we will be doing lots of stabilization tests as well, and then we'll be moving on to some low light tests. So let's go ahead and take a bit of a walk with the front facing cameras so you can see what the stabilization is like from the front facing cameras. And everybody's looking at me thinking, who the hell is this weirdo? Anyway, let's turn that into a bit of a run. Now we're filming from the rear facing cameras, we're filming at 4K, and this is the sort of quality you can expect. Let's take a bit of a walk at 4K. Let's see what the stabilization is like. Now we can use the telephoto here as well, so let's try to do that on both. So this is using the telephoto on both devices. That does give us a decent amount of zoom, but stabilization doesn't seem to be as good at ×2. So now we're filming at 1080p and just going to test out the stabilization, see if it's any better at 1080. So let's go ahead and have a bit of a run. Now indoors with the OnePlus 5. Room lighting, just testing out the autofocus. Seems to be doing really well. iPhone 7 Plus. Again, room lighting, autofocus. Also doing okay. Seems slightly slower, I'd say, compared to the OnePlus 5. So that was the video. Now before we move on to images, just to go over what we're working with here. The OnePlus 5 does have much higher resolution for the front facing camera with a wider aperture. We have a very similar situation when it comes to the rear facing cameras. Both have dual cameras, one primary wide angle lens as well as a secondary telephoto lens, which is going to give you 2x zoom. Now here again, the OnePlus 5 does have a high resolution for both cameras as well as a wider aperture. The iPhone 7 Plus however does have optical image stabilization versus electronic image stabilization on the OnePlus 5. Now another thing to mention is that all images have been taken on automatic. I haven't tweaked any of the settings on the images to keep things as fair as possible. Now if you want to see how durable the OnePlus 5 is, definitely check out the durability test from my buddy Zach over at Jerry Rig Everything. I'll drop a link to his video in the description below as well as in the cards. So starting off with some selfies, here is a selfie in harsh sunlight. Both seem to be doing pretty well here. The OnePlus 5 is slightly wider, but the iPhone 7 Plus does seem to have better colors. I think because of the sunlight, the OnePlus 5 has leaned more towards that yellow side. So for the colors, I do prefer the iPhone 7 Plus. Going in 100%, you can crop in much further on the OnePlus 5 because of that high resolution, but the iPhone 7 Plus does seem sharper here. Now moving on to an outdoor low light shot, here the OnePlus 5 is definitely winning out. You've got a much cleaner image with less noise. It's also sharper with better colors. The iPhone 7 Plus is not doing too great here. The image is very washed out and also very noisy. Using the front facing flash on both devices, which illuminates the display to give you some more light. Once again, I think I like the OnePlus 5 image here. It's sharper with less noise and better colors. Although the iPhone 7 Plus isn't doing as bad as it was without the flash. Now moving on to the rear facing cameras. This is using the primary wide angle lens. Here you can see that both are doing an absolutely great job, lots of detail. We do have a difference in color however. The OnePlus 5 is producing more of a punchy shot, so the colors are a little bit more vibrant and it does seem to have a little bit more contrast compared to that of the iPhone 7 Plus. I think this will come down to personal preference. Now this is also a perfect situation to use the telephoto lens to get you some optical zoom, and both doing a great job here. Once again, the OnePlus 5 a little bit more contrast and a bit more vibrant. I personally do like this, but it will come down to your personal preference. If we do go in 100% here, you can see that we can crop in further on the OnePlus 5 because we have 20 megapixels versus 12 megapixels on the iPhone 7 Plus. But in terms of detail, I think both are doing it quite similarly. Now, another outdoor wide shot, I thought this one I'd test out the dynamic range. Here you can see that the OnePlus 5 is definitely doing better. The colors are much better maintained because of that tricky dynamic range that we have here. The iPhone 7 Plus does seem to be struggling and the colors do seem to have been washed out a little. Now, an outdoor macro shot, I think both are doing great here. We've got a nice shallow depth of field, and if we go in 100%, we can see this B. You can crop in further here on the OnePlus 5 because of that high resolution, and it also looks a little bit sharper, and because of this I do like the OnePlus 5 image a little bit better. Now, another advantage of those dual lenses is that we can get this blurred background bokeh effect, and using the portrait mode on both devices here, the first thing you'll notice is that there is quite a big difference in terms of angle view. You've got a much wider shot on the OnePlus 5 compared to that of the iPhone 7 Plus. Looks like the iPhone 7 Plus is using the telephoto lens to capture the image and using the wide angle image to create that blur, whereas the OnePlus 5 seems to be doing the opposite. But regardless, both seem to be doing a great job with that blur. Both images look really good, like they were taken on a DSLR. Now, if we do go in 100%, the OnePlus 5 image looks a tad sharper, but I can see that there are some minor defects near the edges of my face, near where my beard is. The iPhone 7 Plus does seem to be doing better here. Testing out another shot from a slightly different angle. Once again, that angle difference is quite obvious. Both do seem to be doing great, however. Let's go in 100%. And here, once again, you can see some slight defects near my beard on the OnePlus 5. The iPhone 7 Plus does seem to be doing a little bit better here. I think this does come down to the software. The iPhone 7 Plus has gone through some software updates for this effect. The OnePlus 5 is still slightly new, so hopefully this will improve with time. Now, moving on to some low light shots. So this is indoor in low light. The iPhone 7 Plus isn't as bright as the OnePlus 5, which seems to be doing better here, but the iPhone 7 Plus does seem a tad sharper. Going outdoors in terms of low light, I think both are doing good here, but this time the iPhone 7 Plus seems brighter. I think this may be thanks to the optical image stabilization that we have, but if we do go in 100%, the iPhone 7 Plus isn't as sharp as the OnePlus 5, so I guess you could consider this a bit of a draw. Now, finally, an image using the flash on both devices. I think both are doing a good job, but I do prefer the OnePlus 5 image here. The colors are better maintained. The iPhone 7 Plus does seem to have washed out the image slightly. So there we have it, guys, the OnePlus 5 versus the iPhone 7 Plus SuperSaf style camera comparison. I think both did great and both have great cameras overall. For the front-facing images, the iPhone 7 Plus did seem to have better colors, but the OnePlus 5 had more resolution, it was wider, and also had better low-light selfies in my opinion. For the front-facing camera, when it came to video, the iPhone 7 Plus had better dynamic range and it was also wider. It looks like the OnePlus does crop in quite a bit to the video from the front-facing camera, and I believe that is because of the stabilization. And in terms of stabilization, the OnePlus 5 was more stable compared to the iPhone 7 Plus from the front-facing camera. Now, when it came to video from the rear-facing camera, I think both did well and both had some great quality, but the iPhone 7 Plus was definitely more stable at 4K. It looks like the electronic image stabilization doesn't really function at 4K on the OnePlus 5, but the OnePlus 5 was more stable at 1080p. The OnePlus 5 also seemed to have quicker autofocus compared to that of the iPhone 7 Plus, and for outdoor images from the rear-facing cameras, both did absolutely great. You've also got the zoom option on both, which works really well and is definitely useful. The OnePlus 5 seems sharper with more zoom because you have 20 megapixels, but when it came to bokeh, I think the iPhone 7 Plus did do a cleaner job overall. As mentioned, I think the OnePlus 5 does need some software updates to improve this with time. Finally, for low light, it was a bit of a tricky one there because the OnePlus 5 was brighter indoors but not as sharp. And when it came to the outdoor shot, then the iPhone 7 Plus was brighter but not as sharp. So I'd call that a bit of a draw. Now for the audio, I'll let you go back and have a listen, but we do have stereo audio on the OnePlus 5 compared to mono audio on the iPhone 7 Plus. And although the OnePlus 5 was louder overall because of that stereo sound, I think the iPhone 7 Plus had better noise cancellation, especially when we were in windy situations. So overall, I would consider this a bit of a draw, with some wins going to the OnePlus 5 and some wins going to the iPhone 7 Plus. Nevertheless, both have absolutely great cameras. That's what I think anyway. What do you think? Drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. If you want to see more images from lots of different devices, then definitely give me a follow on Instagram. I'm at SuperSaf TV. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. And if you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and switch on notifications. I've got plenty more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.